Hello everyone and welcome once again to my channel. It's your boy Luis Portelles and today we have a full recap of Miss Universe 2022. Now we know that this edition of Miss Universe had a lot of refreshing surprises for us and simultaneously some shocking events by having some of the clear frontrunners not being included within the top 16. I feel like during this particular show, everyone was on the edge of their seats. So today, during this video, we're going to be talking about everything that went down during the coronation night, including the good, the bad, and the ugly of Miss Universe 2022. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button so that it gets recommended to more people. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this one almost every single day. And last but not least, be part of the conversation in the comment section down below. Now, I won't keep you waiting much longer. I will see you right after the intro. Before we talk about the entire thing, I just want to address the technicalities of the show. And by this, I mean production, host, performers, and all of those things. I will say that the production this year was actually a little bit underwhelming in my opinion, but in all fairness, it is exactly what I was expecting. For those of you who actually follow Miss Universe on a yearly basis, you know that this particular edition was prepared in the middle of an organizational transition going from the IMG era to the JKN era, meaning that they collaborated in order to make this happen, but this is not really the IMG experience nor the JKN experience. So that overall they did okay with what they had. However, the level of the production and the props cannot be compared to some of the previous editions that we have already seen from Miss Universe. Now let's talk about the host, because this was actually a big topic on social media when the hosts were announced. I think they did an incredible job by keeping up the energy, making sure that there were no dull moments, no awkward silences during the shows, and of course no major errors. This applies for both the main host as well as the backstage host. I think that all of them did an incredible job. For the performers, I really felt that it was a hit or miss, meaning that there were moments that I thought were great. For example, the opening number was a lot of energy, it was dynamic, it was fun to watch, and there were moments where I wish the performer would just like wrap it up and go. And I'm talking about the evening gown segment more precisely. I thought that the singer was trying her best to deliver her best live vocals, but girl, that was not happening. So yeah, let's not do that again for 2023. The last thing that I wanted to highlight when it comes to the production is the stage. I thought that it was rather small. To a certain extent, some of the girls were penalized by it because we did not have enough time or enough room, enough space on stage to actually see their skills, see all of their angles, and just allow them to show us the performance that they've been preparing for the longest time. But once again, I have faith that all of those things will be addressed for the upcoming edition, which will be held in El Salvador, because this is going to be full-on JKN era. Now let's put the technicalities aside and let's talk about the very controversial announcement of the top 16. I think that we can all remember what we were doing exactly when the top 16 was being announced. I was personally on a live stream on YouTube and y'all saw my face cracking because I was shocked, to say the least. So let's talk about some of the candidates that I expected to see within the top 16 and actually ended up cracking the top 16. So we had USA, Puerto Rico, South Africa, Dominican Republic, Peru, Venezuela, India, Colombia, and Curacao. But other than that, we also received a few surprises, meaning people that, they had the potential to be there, but I did not necessarily see them cracking the top 16 initially. And of course, I'm talking about Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, Canada, Australia, Spain, Laos, and Portugal. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Some of these candidates, I did not see them cracking the top 16 at all. Some of them, I was hoping that they would be included, but I had some reservations because of how fierce the competition was. But at the end of the day, as part of the audience, we really have no control over who cracks it or not. We have to believe the selection process of the organization and the things that they were looking for. Now, let's talk about some of the shocks. The girls that were omitted from the top 16 that everyone was just like, what is going on here on this day? Jesus, please fix it. And of course, I'm talking about Philippines, Thailand, Jamaica, Italy, Indonesia, and Cambodia. All of these girls, in my opinion, were deserving of a spot within the top 16. And I think that's also one of the reasons why I waited a few days to film this video, because I really wanted to separate myself from the emotional attachment and just be able to deliver a neutral, recap for the show. But I feel like I am not alone sharing the feeling that some of these girls deserved a lot more. You know, I'm not saying that all of them needed to crack the top 10, top 5, top 3 or win, but I'm saying that at least a top 16 position was very justified for some of these contestants. 2 of them in particular. But before we get into that, I just want to highlight 2 of the girls who actually cracked the top 16 and that I just wanted to take a moment to mention them. And I'm talking, of course, about India, Devita Rai, and South Africa, and Ndavi Nokedi. The reason why I want to talk about them is because I feel like for the longest time during the competition, these 2 girls were so criticized for many, many reasons. But mainly when it comes to Devita, people were complaining about her looks, they were complaining about the styling, they were complaining about the fact that she's trying to pull a back-to-back win and that they didn't think that she will be able to do it for so many different reasons. But ultimately, I think that a lot of people just put Devita and Ndavi on the same boat and just kind of assume that they wouldn't be able to do it. Why? Because these countries have been recognized extensively at Miss Universe for the past few years, but that doesn't take away anything from the performance and the things that these ladies brought to the table. So if you're watching my live stream, you just saw how happy I was when Devita was called out. Same thing for Ndavi. I thought that, you know, it's true that South Africa has been excelling at Miss Universe extensively for the past few years, going even as far as winning 2 Miss Universe crowns. Last year, they even cracked the top 3, but that doesn't take away from Ndavi and everything that she has been doing. I feel like from all of the Miss Universe franchises, the South African franchise is really one of the few that I feel like they truly train their girls. They truly work on the advocacy and the projects and the preparation for the competition. You know, when Ndavi went there, she changed everything from her styling. She had concepts, she had amazing performance, she was doing well with the sponsors. So I couldn't really understand why so many people didn't see it happening for them. Ultimately, when I saw Devita and Ndavi cracking the top 16, I just thought to myself, this is like a learning lesson for a lot of the people out there who don't really give a chance to certain contestants and that just feel like, oh, because they have been doing well before, there's no chance that they will even crack the top 16. Now, let's talk about some of the countries that I thought deserved a little bit more. And of course, I'm talking about Philippines and I'm talking about Thailand. Personally, if you ask me what went wrong, I could talk to you for like hours, but I feel like rather than doing that, I'm just gonna make a separate video about my true opinions about what happened during the coronation night at Miss Universe. But I will say that these ladies in particular, and as I said earlier, I will also include Jamaica, Italy, Indonesia, and Cambodia in the same boat. Their presence over there at Miss Universe and their looks and their performance were a little bit divisive in the sense that some people really, really loved what they were doing. Some people didn't appreciate it as much or just didn't understand it. You know, when it comes to Celeste, for example, there's just so many people complaining about her styling and her performance and saying that she was tamed down for the competition. And, you know, there's just like so many rumors and conspiracy theories coming out. And of course, I have my very own opinion about those things, but I still believe that she deserved a spot within the top 16. Anna from Thailand was my number 3. I feel like I just went into this entire thing kind of like blindfolded without realizing that really it's a new era at Miss Universe. They're looking for something completely different. Because for me, these 2 girls were doing so well based on the formula that IMG era had before. But I think that it took us really this particular incident for us to realize, hey, it's no longer IMG. At the end of the day, what I will say for all of these ladies that they still delivered a killer performance. There are very few things that I could actually go ahead and criticize. I just feel like overall, the organization was just looking for a different prototype. And that maybe going forward, we need to recalibrate, rethink the strategies and see how we can provide exactly what they're looking for. I won't go too deep into that because I really want to make a separate video where we can talk extensively about the changes, what went right, what went wrong, and you know, all of those shenanigans. Right after the top 16 announcement, of course, we go directly into the final competitions, which are the preliminary, which are the evening gown competition and swimsuit competition. I will say that overall, I was really, really happy with most of the contestants. I don't think that there was someone who downgraded their looks or performance. As a whole, I think that everyone stepped up their performance and were trying to the best of the abilities to give, you know, everything that they had for the final moments. And as controversial as the top 16 was for a lot of us, we needed to get ready for a drastic chop. And of course, I'm talking about the top 5. In previous editions, having a top 21, top 20 was kind of a comfort zone because you still get a lot of girls that are able to be recognized. However, going top 16, it's already a little restrictive, and then cropping that directly to a top 5 is just heartbreaking. Well, this was no exception because only 5 countries got to move on. And of course, we're talking about Venezuela, USA, Puerto Rico, Curacao, and Dominican Republic. And I'm going to say this, initially with the top 16, I have very mixed emotions because I thought, yes, some of the front runners made it. Some of the girls that I was rooting for made it. Some of the other girls, I was like, she deserves it. For some of them, even, I was like, what is she even doing there? But top 5, I was very happy. I thought that everyone who actually moved on to the top 5 deserved their spot. Although there were a few people that I would have liked to see there for different reasons. And I'm talking precisely about India, South Africa, and Spain. All of them, I think that they would have been amazing during the Q&A. India, South Africa, we already talked about them, but I want to put a little bit of a spotlight on Spain. Alicia Faubel. We always said about Alicia that her biggest strength was her personality, her charisma, and just how well of a spokesperson she is. So once that she managed to crack the top 16, I was hoping for a top 5 placement because this girl, if you give her a microphone, she would have easily become the next Miss Universe. However, it was not the case, but I was still celebrating for her because I'm super proud that she was able to, first of all, improve so much, and second of all, exceed everyone's expectations, mine included, if I'm being honest. So Alicia, if you're watching this, so proud of you. For the top 5 Q&A, I was actually taking down notes as they were answering. And here are some of the comments that I had for some of them. But once again, I won't get too much into details. This is just a recap. I will have a separate video about the Q&A segment when the copyright allows it, because Miss Universe is being so savage when it comes to the copyright. But that's another conversation. So for Venezuela, first of all, I gave her props for answering in English because she would have easily been able to answer in Spanish. And I wrote that she was very, very eloquent and she was very sure of herself. For USA, I really like her answer, being so honest about the age restrictions. That's exactly what was on everyone's mind. And I literally wrote down next to her name, leader, just how confident she was and always speaking from a place of experience. Puerto Rico was very, very impactful. I did note down that I wanted her to be a little bit more precise. For Curacao, I love the approach of embracing different cultures, but I also mentioned not precise enough. She could have been a little bit more specific with her answer. Dominican Republic, I really love the access to the education answer that she had because I knew that it will resonate a lot with the organization. She was very calm and composed, but I actually wanted a little bit more energy from her for that particular segment. When the last candidates standing were announced, the top 3, it really matched my notes and criticism, so I can't really say that there was some sort of bias or some sort of fraud, anything at all. I thought that the girls who moved on to the top 3 were the girls who performed really, really well during the Q&A segment in the top 5. That leaves us, of course, with the top 3 of Dominican Republic, USA, and Venezuela. Unfortunately, Puerto Rico and Curacao were not able to move on to the last part of the competition, but they still delivered an amazing, amazing performance. For the last Q&A segment with the top 3, I actually had very similar comments. However, for Dominican Republic, I did note once again the fact that I needed more energy. The speech was very linear. There were no peaks and valleys, and that's important when you are delivering a statement. And statement is exactly what I noted down for Miss USA. I wrote down that she was very, very confident, and at the end of it, I feel like she was able to amaze the crowd with the substance of what she had to say. I also thought that Arbany was very good at including keywords within her Q&A, such as force for good, such as transformational leader, and we all know that those are things that the organization will obviously love. For Venezuela, I actually wrote very similar comments. I mentioned that she managed to make a statement, and not only that, but to make it very impactful. I like the way that she played with the final words of her response to mention that she is a designer by profession, but she is a designer of dreams as a woman. I just thought that was one of those iconic lines that sometimes we get at Miss Universe. Amanda Dudamel did exactly that. So before we talk about the crowning moment and all those things, I just want to take a moment to highlight Harnal Sandhu's final walk, which of course was so heartwarming because if you have been watching my channel for a long time, you know how much I love Harnal, I respect her, I look up to her in the way that she managed everything during her reign. I think that this is a girl that went from being so loved and uplifted by the audience to being one of the most criticized and vilified Miss Universe of all time, at least in my personal experience. And all of this based on her looks, because her essence, her approach, her commitment, her advocacy, her projects never really changed. If anything, I think that she tried to the best of her ability to use her reign for good and bring visibility to important causes. However, most of the fandom could only see her appearance. And I think that's part of a bigger issue that we need to address at some point. If I'm being quite honest, I felt like the final walk was a little sad, and it made me think that almost it represented her reign. You know, she came out clearly so emotional. She was going through it, and she was giving such a short amount of time. You know, even the speech that was playing behind, I feel like they could have just done something more for her Nas, especially after everything that she went through. She looked absolutely stunning in her gown, and I really love the thought and the fact that she included images of previous Miss Universe Indias who actually won the pageant in the past. It was a beautiful tribute, and that's one of my feedbacks. I would have loved if she just give the reigning queen, you know, the one who is passing the crown, give her some time, some spotlight. I don't think that we got to see the drawings on the dress enough during the telecast, and it was almost as if she was being rushed to just, you know, move on and pass the crown. Deep down, I feel like she deserved better, and it's okay. At least now Harnas can turn the page, move on to better things, and hopefully she will be appreciated, because honestly, this girl has so much potential. I actually want to address some of the rumors in the comments that I heard about the coronation night. But before, let's talk about the final coronation moment, of course. As you know, the final two standing holding hands were Venezuela and USA. And once again, going back to my notes about the top three in the Q&A, this is exactly what came out of my comments. So I was actually very okay with those two. I think that USA and Venezuela, any of them would have been amazing title holders. But ultimately, Miss USA, Arbony Gabriel, was crowned as Miss Universe 2022. This was such a beautiful, empowering moment, especially when you think about Arbony's entire journey, the ups and downs, the controversies, the allegations, and everything that this woman has been put through. Honestly, I feel like she had to fight so much for her spot at Miss Universe. And thanks God, the organization really had her back at all times. They did the investigations that needed to be done. They did the work. They talked to the other candidates back at Miss USA to make sure that Arbony could only focus on the competition. I also think that she put so much work into her preparation, in going as far as designing a lot of her looks herself and doing a lot of the things that some of the girls will just use that time to prepare, to work on their Q&A. And I think that Arbony put more on her shoulders than what we actually expected her to. So having her as the winner, it was just a very rewarding moment. I could say the same thing about Amanda. You know that I really love Amanda. At a few points during my predictions and stuff, Amanda was actually my #1 pick. I think that at the end of the day, I'm happy that I had the two of them as the final two standing, because both of them would have been just excellent, above average Miss Universe title holders. So let's talk about some of the things that are being said by the fans. So the first rumor that I want to address is, was the show fair, and was the crowning moment a fair decision as well? My answer is going to be overall yes, for the exact reasons that I just told you. I felt like these two really went above and beyond to work on their preparation, on their public image, on their wardrobe, and just did everything that they were supposed to do during the competition. So I have absolutely no problem with that. Now, there are rumors about Miss Universe wanting to crown USA since the beginning. Of course, there is absolutely no proof of that. Now, one thing that I mentioned before, even though in one of my previous videos before Arbony was crowned, is that it would make sense for Miss Universe to want to crown USA, because this is the very first time in history that Miss Universe is no longer owned by an American entity. Now it belongs to Thailand. So having a Miss Universe from the US, it would make things easier in terms of transitioning, you know, the organization from one country to another, while keeping very good relationships in the United States. Now, I don't think by any means that Miss Universe planned to crown Arbony. Probably they just had that in mind. They saw the potential in Arbony. She was truly giving a good fight. And ultimately, if she cracked all of the tops, managed to make it to the top 5, top 3, why not give her the crown? As I said, even based on my own comments, she deserved to move on to the top 16, top 5, top 3, and get the crown. So absolutely no problem with that. People are also wondering why so many Asian countries were unplaced. I don't think necessarily that this is on purpose, but I do think that to a certain extent, there is a business reason behind that. When you think about pageantry in the world, as of right now, pageants are super relevant in Asia. They have a lot of support, lots of sponsors, and lots of people who love and enjoy them. It is not necessarily the same reality for other places in the world, such as North America, Latin America, Africa, and Europe. So for me, it is just normal that the organization will want to kind of reward those countries to increase the visibility and therefore kind of gain back a little bit of the fandom that they have lost over the years. It's been 10 years since they have crowned a queen from North America. In Latin America, we often hear people complaining because they feel like their queens are not always appreciated the way that they feel like they should be appreciated. So I think that this is just a way for the organization to gain back that market that over time has been lost. I also think, as I told you earlier, that a lot of the countries prepare their candidates with the IMG formula, which of course organization changed in the middle of the entire thing, and IMG was no longer the ones who were going to crown the queen. They needed to please to a different standard, and that is the JKN formula. I also heard a lot of comments of people saying that the organization actually wanted to teach a lesson to some of the Asian countries because of how toxic sometimes the fans can be and all of the bullying that goes down, towards other candidates, other countries, and just people in the pageant world overall. I don't think this is necessarily the strategy, but I do think that the organization wanted to send a strong message that is not just because you have a strong sash factor or that you have been excelling for a long time that they will necessarily give it to you. I think that, for example, that can apply to the Philippines, but that can also apply to Thailand. This is just my personal opinion, but I think that maybe in a way the organization decided to sacrifice two of the biggest sash factor countries, Philippines and Thailand, just to prove that there is absolutely no bias when it comes to the selection process and that the owner is not automatically reward her own country just because she bought the entire organization. So when you look back at the entire show, everything that went down, you might wonder, where do we go from here? Well, it's a simple answer. New organization, new era, new standards. So we need to reconsider, we need to recalibrate, we need to revamp what we're looking for, the things that we take into consideration. Miss Universe is no longer just about facial beauty and physical beauty. It is all about your resume, what you have been doing, your education, and how you can be a leader. I said this before, the Trump era was all about the looks. The IMG era was all about the communications and being a spokesperson. But the JKN era is all about being a leader. And being a leader is more than looks and communications. You need to lead by example. So you have to put in the work. I think those are the things that we might be seeing in upcoming editions of Miss Universe. But anyways, you let me know, what do you think? How do you feel? Do you agree or not? And if there's anything else that you would like to add to this conversation, just go ahead and do it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to the channel for more content like this one almost every single day. I will see you soon, and until then, come and give me a hug. Love you guys. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.